Hey everyone, thanks for joining Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and today I'll be taking a look at a game that just finished up on Kickstarter and successfully funded. That is Soulgivers. This is a brand new game from Gravity Games. It is a 2 to 4 player game that takes roughly half an hour to an hour to play, and is a competitive head-to-head game where each player is competing against the other players to gain control of the fragment and bring it back to the deployment zone. The player that does this first will be the winner of the game. In this video, I'll be showing you the main features of the game, as well as a sample player turn to give you an idea how this game plays. Now, this is going to be done through the Tabletopia digital version, which does not represent the game in its final production version, which is going to look so much better. I've seen some prototype images already, and those even look amazing, so I cannot wait to see what this game looks like in its final version. So as always, if you find these videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button, subscribe to my channel. It's one of the easiest ways you can support channels like mine, so we can continue to grow and produce this content. If you want to stay updated on all my videos, also consider hitting that bell so you get notifications anytime I release new stuff. So let's go ahead and head to the table, and we'll see what this one's all about. One other important thing I want to point out before getting into the video is that all the materials you see here are both digital and prototype materials and are subject to change and will look a lot better in the final production copy. Also, if you're interested in checking this game out, you can play it free on Tabletopia, and you can download all of the information for it and play it with your friends and try it out and see if this is one for you. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into this, and the first thing I want to talk about are the tiles themselves, as that is a very important feature of the game. There are three main types of tiles. You'll have tiles that have no features on them, just the 4 spaces. You're going to have tiles with the white lines, which are going to be walls, which will block movement from most normal Soulgivers. And then finally, there are going to be tiles with black holes, which will kill most Soulgivers if they move into them. Throughout the game, the players are going to be able to manipulate these with certain Soulgivers' powers, including rotating them and completely moving columns with certain Soulgivers. And the objective of the game is for the players to get the fragments into their Soulgivers' hands and then make it back to their deployment zone. Now, this sounds really easy, but as you develop your strategy within the game, this can be very, very complex, as again, each of the Soulgivers is going to have its own individual abilities, as well as being able to manipulate both the board and being able to interrupt other players with abnormality cards, which I'm going to cover in a minute. As I just talked about, another feature of the game are the Abnormality Cards, and you'll be able to gain these by spending your Tribute Essence during your turn to draw one of these cards into your hands. Each of these cards will be able to be used during your opponent's turn when you decide that you need to use it, and each one provides you with some sort of bonus or special ability. For example, with the Temporal Suspension, this one will allow you to choose one of your Soulgivers in the game and declare it active. You can take one free action or one tribute action for free, even during your opponent's turn again. So it's a very powerful thing. Otherwise, you have other ones like Decay, which will allow you to choose an ally or opposing Soulgiver on the board and increase its Decay die by 2, which is really nasty. So these can be real game changers if used at the proper time. Now, another important thing, on 2 of the tiles, you're going to have these little white circles. If your opponent has a Soulgiver on there, they are going to block your ability to gain new abnormality cards, so keep that in mind as you play the game. Another important feature of the game are the Soulgivers themselves, and each player is going to have an identical set of 10 Soulgivers that they're going to be able to use throughout the game. Each player is going to have to choose 3 Soulgivers to start the game with, and this is going to be one of the most important decisions in the game and part of a huge part of the strategy starting out the game, as the Soulgivers you start out with are very important to giving you a good position on the board, but also keep in mind as the game goes on, these Soulgivers, all Soulgivers that you have out, are going to decay and potentially be eliminated from the game. So going with your top picks or most important ones first isn't necessarily always a good thing, as they are most likely going to die and decay throughout the game, either from your opponents or simply by decaying throughout the game, as you're going to see later in the video. Now, each Soulgiver has its own token, which will have its own shields that will help it or help protect it from attacks from opponents, and is going to be very important in positioning as you move around the board. If a Soulgiver dies, you also have that Soulgiver's soul, which you can capture and then boost your powers of a Soulgiver that captured that soul, stacking it underneath your current token. And then you'll be able to take that Soulgiver's card and stack it underneath your current Soulgiver's card, gaining that Soulgiver new abilities and also allowing them to reset their Decay die, or decaying die back to 1, giving them more time on the board to help out. Plus, it gives them an additional hit point, which is also a big deal in the game. So being able to maximize each Soulgiver's ability is going to be a key feature of winning the game for your faction. And like I said, there are going to be 10 different Soulgivers included in the core game, and each one of them is going to work differently with their own special abilities and powers. And the last thing I want to go over is a quick sample player turn to show you how the game roughly plays. Now, one other important thing I do want to point out is that each player is going to have their own special population ability. So, for example, with this player, they have Event Horizon, and this one allows you to place 4 Spectre modifiers on 4 black hole cells, or black hole modifiers free from Soulgivers. The other player is going to have a different population ability. So from there, during a player's turn, they're going to choose which one of their Soulgivers they want to activate first, and then carry out all the actions they wish to with that Soulgiver before moving on to the next one. And you are not allowed to go back and reactivate a Soulgiver once you've activated during your turn. So I'm going to start off with my Spacewalker, and I am going to, first off, use a Essence Tribute, or Tribute Essence, to activate his special ability, which is the Wormhole. So with that, it allows him to enter black holes and use them as regular spaces to basically teleport around the board. And his movement is 2, so he can move up to 2 spaces. So he's going to start off by moving into here, and then that will allow him to teleport anywhere on the board. So I'm going to go ahead and move up into that space there. So let me grab him, and that'll move him here, and he's going to end his movement out here. Now, I also want to rotate him so that I can take advantage of all of his defense. And then I am going to also spend a Tribute Essence on him to attack the barrier, as he has an attack that he can do as well. So in order to do that, I will remove the crystal first, and then move the barrier. So that'll be removed. And now we will be able to interact with the fragment. So this will be placed back in that center area. And that is all I want to do with that particular Soulgiver. So then I'm going to activate my runner, and the runner can move up to 6 spaces, but only in straight lines. So I'm only going to be able to move him in straight lines. So I'm going to move him straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I will also rotate him so that, do that. All right, and I don't think I want to activate his ability at this point, so then I'm going to go to the Protector, who can move up to 3 spaces, and I'm going to move him straight forward, and I will also rotate him. And then finally, I'm going to spend my last Tribute Essence to gain a Abnormality card. So I'll go ahead and take the top one and add it to my area. Now, normally you're going to keep these hidden from other players, but I'll go ahead and show you guys what we got here. So we have Freeze. We can choose an opposing Soulgiver, and for this turn, that piece cannot use its movement, which is going to be handy if we get into a situation where we need to stop someone from moving. Okay, so now that we've completed all of our actions for our turn, the final thing we need to do is to handle the decay. So each Soulgiver is going to decay by 1 point. So we're going to go ahead and shift each one down. And then finally, any Soulgiver that uses any number of Tribute Essence as well is going to decay 1 additional point. So our Spacewalker will decay 2 points this turn. So by using its abilities, it is going to decay faster. So you got to be careful on when and why you use those abilities. From here, then it would move over to the other player to take their turn. And again, like I said, this is going to continue until one of the players is able to get the fragment back into one of their deployment zones. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. Or swing by the Kickstarter's main page and drop any questions you have there as well. I'm sure the creators would love to hear from you and are more than happy to answer any questions you have. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos and leave me feedback on them. I do really appreciate it. I take into account everything you say to make the best possible videos. Until next time, I'll see you later.